You're watching a young girl being pulled out of the emperor's chamber. She's not walking. Two attendants are dragging her by the arms. Her heels scrape along the polished marble floor. Her eyes are open, but there's nothing left inside them anymore. A few days ago, that girl was laughing in the room next to yours. Earlier today, they summoned her. Now, she's something different. Like someone ripped her spirit away. A servant notices you staring. She seizes your arm, yanks him back into your room. Don't look, never look, and when they come for you, don't resist. Rome. The year is 39 AD. You are still very young. You've been locked inside a place called the Garden of Venus for several days now, and you've just learned what happens to girls when they are called. Your father said this was an honor. Your mother wept when you climbed into the carriage. Neighbors watched with jealousy as you rode uphill toward the palace. Nobody told you the truth. Nobody told you that the most powerful man on earth operates a system like a workshop that writes girls' names on wax tablets, their backgrounds, their faces, and summons them one at a time to his chamber. And when they leave, they are never the same again. This is the story of what Caligula did to the girls inside his palace. And the most frightening part isn't what he did. It's that nobody stopped him. Not the senators, not the guards, not even the parents who handed their daughters over at the door. Everyone knew, and everyone remained silent. If this story grips you, leave a like and subscribe. It takes a moment and helps bring more voices out of silence. But before you understand what happened in those rooms, you need to understand how a human being becomes capable of doing this. Because Caligula wasn't born a monster, he was created. The year is 1980. A very young boy runs through a Roman military camp wearing a miniature soldier's uniform, complete with tiny armor and small red boots. The soldiers adore him. They call him Caligula, Little Boots. He is the son of Germanicus, Rome's greatest general since Julius Caesar. The men believe this child brings them victory. He has no idea what is coming. Not long after, his father dies. The official version says sudden illness. The whispered version says poison, ordered by Emperor Tiberius himself. Caligula is still a child when the machine begins destroying his family. His mother is dragged from their home, accused of treason, starved to death in exile. His oldest brother is arrested, imprisoned, so desperate with hunger that he tries to eat the stuffing from his mattress. His second brother is exiled to an island where guards torture him until he smashes his own head against the walls to end it. One by one, erased, and young Caligula watches it all happen. Years later, he is the only one left, still not fully grown, the sole survivor. Then comes the summons. Emperor Tiberius wants to see him on Capri. Ancient historians like Suetonius and Tacitus, writing within living memory of these events, described Capri as a house of horrors. Tiberius turned the island into his private stronghold, far from Rome, far from anyone who might object to what happened there. Into this environment walks a youth who knows he is living on borrowed time. He knows Tiberius destroyed his family. Everyone knows, but he cannot show it. One wrong glance, one flicker of anger, and he is dead. Suetonius writes something chilling. There was never a better servant and a worse master. For years, Caligula watches, studies, learns exactly how to break human beings from the greatest monster in Roman history. Then Tiberius dies. Some say of natural causes. Others say Caligula smothered him with a pillow. Either way, the hostage is now emperor. Rome celebrates. They think they are receiving the son of beloved Germanicus. They have no idea what they have just unleashed. For a time, everything appears perfect. Caligula frees prisoners, hosts spectacular games, distributes money to the people. Then he becomes ill, a severe fever that lasts for weeks. The person who woke up was not the same person who went to sleep. What happened during those fever days will never be known. But when Caligula recovered, something inside him had fractured, and Rome was about to learn what he had been hiding. Imperial officials began traveling through Rome and its surrounding territories. They visited wealthy homes and poor homes alike. They were not recruiting soldiers. They were not seeking talent. They were looking for three things: youth, beauty, and purity. Girls who were not yet fully grown. Faces that pleased the emperor. Virginity verified by family reputation and sometimes by examination. Suetonius, writing decades later, describes this process in fragments. He mentions young women of noble families brought to the palace. He notes that Caligula inspected them personally, the way a slave trader inspects merchandise before purchase. Even Suetonius, a man who recorded orgies, murders, and incest without hesitation, seems uneasy describing what followed. Records were kept. Wax tablets listed each girl's name, background, physical traits, family ties. This was not impulsive cruelty. This was inventory control. Human beings reduced to entries in an accounting book. The system was horrifyingly efficient. Officials traveled in pairs, carrying imperial seals that opened every door. They had quotas to fulfill, reports to submit. They measured success in numbers. How many candidates identified? How many families visited? How many girls delivered? This was not chaos. This was bureaucracy. And that is what makes it truly terrifying. Not a single madman acting on impulse, but dozens of functionaries processing human beings with the same detachment used to count grain shipments. The families did not resist. In a society where honor was everything, being chosen by the emperor was presented as the highest distinction. Parents competed for the opportunity, dressed their daughters in white, braided their hair with flowers. Some mothers cried when the carriage departed, but they cried quietly because crying loudly would suggest they were not grateful, and not being grateful meant serving the emperor was something wrong. So they swallowed their tears, swallowed their doubts, and let their daughters go. They called it the Garden of Venus. The name sounds beautiful, romantic, like a place full of flowers and fountains where young women learned poetry and music. It was a prison, but what made it worse than any dungeon was this. A dungeon looks like a dungeon. Chains, cold stone, you know where you stand. This place looked like paradise. Silk curtains everywhere, beds softer than anything these girls had ever known, perfume thick enough to taste, food most Romans had never imagined, servants who smiled and fulfilled every request. Everything beautiful, everything wrong. Modern psychologists have a term for what this does to the mind: cognitive dissonance. When your senses tell you one thing and your instincts tell you another, your brain begins to fracture. You can no longer trust your own perceptions. The girls could not leave their rooms without permission, could not contact their families, did not know what day it was, did not know what was expected of them. They only waited, sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks. No one explained anything. No one told them when they would be called. No one told them what happened when they were.
They only heard footsteps at night, passing their doors, stopping at another door, a girl being taken. And in the morning, that girl would be different, quieter, emptier, or she would not return at all. The servants who brought food saw everything. Every tear was reported. Every whispered conversation was documented. If two girls began forming a bond, finding comfort in shared suffering, they were separated, moved to different wings. Because connection creates strength, and strength creates resistance. Isolation was part of the design. The waiting itself was the torture.